Hey friends, I've got the awesome pleasure of returning some of this timber or this wood back to the ether. So a whole few tons of lumber is now just gas, and it's going up to where it's cold, and it'll come back down again in due course in some other form. But this tree came down, so there's quite a pile of stuff that needed burning up. There's the tree over there. It's more impressive up close. I got a video of it and I might show you it sometime. But just wanted to say thanks to Mary, Jane and Luke for taking care of us this weekend, and my sister-in-law had us for a night. But we're back at this place now, and saw our older children. That was awesome. Down in Bournemouth and over in Canterbury, Jess and Luke. And then we're here for a few weeks, and aside from wanting to work on this little mini documentary about this place, which I think is fantastically interesting historically, the connection, the builder of this place or the architect of this place is very well known. You'll know of him. If you don't know him, you'll know of him when I get to it. So I wanted to build on the documentary, or do the documentary. I've got that laptop from Nigel that I'm going to use to maybe make something a little bit slicker than my usual. And then Andrew and I are committed to using this time to be thoughtful, mindful, introspective, do some of that homework that we're meant to be doing, and less noise, clutter, whoa, busy, and more in this right now, in this time. This next few weeks feels like that. Maybe it's that for you, but whatever. I think we need to do this. We need to find time for this, and I've been hard on myself with the last few months being so topsy-turvy. But new commitment this morning. I went out for a run, my first run in a long time, maybe a few years, but I've used the gardening and stuff like that to keep me fit the last few years, so I haven't really needed it, but I need it at the moment. So I went running this morning. That was good. I ran in the only pair of shoes I have, so my boots. So I felt like I was in the army again, which was cool. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of a rocky number here every day, do a little bit more, and by the end of the few weeks from now, hopefully I'll be that little bit fitter, ready for whatever's coming next. I still think that we've been bamboozled with the 8 inches, guys. I think it's impossible for a sphere to have greater and lesser amounts of curvature depending on where you happen to stand. That just doesn't make sense anymore. I know it takes a lot to get my head around it, and I'm not asking you to fall into line with it. So I'm just saying, think about it. Well, I'll unpack this more. But I really think that they've used planar geometry and a planar view of the world to get us to overlook the fact that they're trying to create a spherical world in which there's no up and down. There's no up and down, and so there can be no start point as such. There can't be like it begins from here and it gets deeper and deeper from here. No, it's like a clock. The second hand ticking around is moving at the same amount each click, and the same amount of declination occurs for each click. It's either going up, okay, so you might say, at the 12 o'clock position it's sort of standing up right there, and I think therein lies the trick. Because you could move the clock anyway and create that. But I'll unpack that more. This was just like a little update from the fireplace, and to say, I'll try not to bother with not that I'll bother, but just I won't put too much time aside for like live videos and stuff for the next few weeks. Just focus on myself, focus on the family, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm still a flat earther or whatever. I still know that the Earth's not a ridiculous globe of rock, electromagnetic apple maybe, Taurus field, the Trinity Taurus. Go back a year and a half, I've been talking about that. Maybe not quite a year and a half, but a while now. The Trinity Taurus. So I still think in those terms, but you see, why it matters on the 8 inches per mile squared is if this is right and it's 1.6 miles out and a 1 mile down kind of thing, it's game over for the ball. There's no way you can sustain the idea, because see, there's no flat points on a ball. There's no flat points. Yeah, on our Earth we've got these flat points, but if there were any flat points, like Utah or whatever, then you've got to have additional curvature elsewhere. It's just obvious, that a ball doesn't have. So you're standing on a pixel, basically. Where you stand is a pixel, and every pixel around you is going down. And for 1 pixel over, you go down 0.6 of a pixel, and that's a lot. Why is it not that you can go up? This is the one thing that kind of guys are putting at me, and I say yes, I'm quite, in my mind, even got this that I'm 100% satisfied. But they say, oh, then if it was such a steep down, then it would be 10-20 miles, and you've gone around circumnavigated this globe. No, well, you've got to imagine yes, that there's a 4,000 mile radius. And so you can't just, you can't shortcut that. You are having to kind of follow the line. You can't use a little clock or a table plate or whatever, because we're talking about a diameter of 8,000 miles, So that's one big bend. Well, big bend's the bell, isn't it? But you know what I mean. It's a big old clock, and the second hand ticks evenly, no matter where you stand, no matter where you happen to be on that clock. So don't draw a straight line out from your eye and go, oh, now it's got to be from. No, because there's no straight lines on balls. In a spherical geometry, there are no straight lines. There's no parallel. There's no horizon to use. You should not be using a horizon if you're on a ball. There is perspective on a ball, in that the higher you go, perhaps the further over the bendage you'll see. But it's bending fast. It's bending insanely fast if we live on this 24,000 mile ball. Very easy to see. Very easy to see. Take the goggles off. The 8 inches per mile squared goggles off. The exponentially growing, getting steeper away from me, the observer. No, that's another form of trickery, man. I'm sure that's just relativity put into. Those American fighter jets are flying overhead quite a lot today. It's not me though, this time. But yeah, it's a form of trickery and using relativity to make you think that it has something to do with where you stand. It has nothing to do with where you stand. Oh, distilled water. No added salts or anything. Although I think maybe a little bit of salt in your water is not a bad thing. You can just as well get it through your food supply, assuming you're eating food, regular food. Anyway, I'm gonna call it quits. I'll catch you guys later. You know what they say about forest? It's the best place to get your rest, in the forest. Catch you later. Cheers.